Okay, it's been a while since I've done a tutorial, and well, I finally got off my ass and decided to make one. Now, today we're going to be making the machete that belongs to the 2009 reboot Jason Voorhees. Now, I'm going to be making this out of aluminum, so if you're wanting to see how to make something functional, this isn't the video for you. The original machetes for the movie were made out of aluminum because of how easy it is to work with, and also because of how soft it is. Mainly because if you stab someone with this, it probably won't do that much damage. Now, there are plenty of ways to go about this. This is just the way that I'm doing it. So, to start off, you're going to need aluminum. No duh. This is, I think, 1/8 inch aluminum. You can get something thicker if you want, maybe 1/4 of an inch. That's probably where I would stop because it's a little bit thick for a machete. Machetes need to be thin so that they're nice and slicey. You're going to need it 3 feet long and also 2 inches wide. You can get it 3 inches wide as well. That's pretty much all I can say about the aluminum. For the handle, you want the just the cheapest wood that you can get. This is oak because I want mine to last a little bit longer. You can get many other woods. This one's 2.5 inches wide and 1/4 of an inch thick. Now, you're going to need to map out where you want your machete. Now, the ones for the movie ranged from, I think it was 30 inches long to 35.25 inches long. This one is 35.25 because I want the nice long blade. So, give you a quick measurement. Handle is 6 inches of the 35.25 inches. That is the entire thing. So, from here, this tip, all the way down to here is 35.25 of an inch. So, now to cut aluminum, that's really tricky because there are plenty of ways to do it. I'm going to be using a jigsaw and also some safety protection. Don't be an asshole and get a piece of this in your eye. That would not be a pleasant day. That would also suck because today is my birthday. Now, you want kind of mild teeth count. You don't want something with a bunch of teeth because aluminum is so soft, it'll gunk up the blade if it has really, really fine teeth like this right here. This blade is specifically for cutting metal, and I would not use it for aluminum because of how many teeth it has. A lot of teeth like this are very hard. Well, this isn't a lot. This is fewer than this one. This many teeth is very good, I guess, for this project. So, yeah. All you need to do is cut this out. Now, I'm going to give you some more measurements again. The tip all the way up to here, because it needs to taper from the tip to the handle. This is the full 2 inches of the stock right here. I guess it's bar stock, maybe? No, flat stock? I can't remember what metal in this shape is called. I don't know. Maybe I should look on the tag or something. But, you want a nice tapered tip right here. You want the full 2 inches at the widest point, and then down here, all the way to the handle, it tapers down to 1.5 inches. So the actual blade itself tapers 1/2 of an inch all the way down to the handle right here. And then you want the handle preferably the size of your hand, because it would be nice and comfortable. This one is the same shape as the original prop. There were, I think, 2 heroes. There was a 30-inch one and a 36-inch one. So, yeah. Oh my god, look at that. I can use a tripod. So, we're going to throw this guy on, because safety is #1 priority. Okay, so I cut it out. And the result is a rather sloppy cut, but don't worry, we're going to pretty it up with sandpaper. Also, since I forgot to line the bottom of this jigsaw with some tape or something like that, I got these scratches in the blade from it moving down. Now, that's not something horrible. I can easily take that off with a little bit of sandpaper, but if you want to avoid that, just put some athletic tape or something on this part of the jigsaw. Okay, so I prettied up the edges a little bit with a combination of using the jigsaw again and a little bit of sandpaper, and I guess you'll notice that it isn't perfectly straight. Now I want that, because keep in mind, the guy sharpening this is a mongoloid. It's nice and light, and looks a lot like what they used for the movie. I'm gonna pretty up this side, and maybe even this side with the sandpaper. Now that you've polished the blade, you don't want it too shiny, because this thing has been around for a while. You're going to trace out the handle onto some oak, so that, well, this isn't comfortable, and when you put oak around the handle, it becomes comfortable. We're also going to wrap some leather and cloth around the handle just so that it looks a little bit more like the one from the movie. Now all you have to do is cut these out. Oh, and use the same blade that you did on the, well, blade. Since this is a wood bit, it'll work on this oak as well. Ignore my dog's barking. So now I've cut out the these little guys right here. You're gonna want to leave a lot of excess, that way when you glue them on, you can sand them down and they will be flush with the rest of the tang. That's what this part is called. So yeah, I'm just going to epoxy these little guys on. Okay, so I epoxied the handle scales on. I already rounded this back edge right here. That was pretty easy. I just carved it away with the knife so that it's nice and round. This is still kind of sloppy, so all you really need to do is either Dremel or carve it off. I'm going to carve it off because it's just more enjoyable because of how long it takes. Okay, so I shaped the handle. I want it to be slightly rough because, once again, this thing has been around. And it's been a lot of places. It's quite old too. I mean, keep in mind, this is actually the same machete that decapitated his mom when he was a little boy, and now he uses it to decapitate young teenagers. I'm gonna put fake pins on. Now, this isn't something that's functional, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna punch out little holes of cardstock and glue them onto this. Then I'm gonna paint them silver. Now, I'm doing this because this isn't something functional. If I wanted to, I could add pins into this, but it's really not worth my time since I'm not going to be using this for heavy-duty work. It's a prop. It's not going to be something that's going to be thrown around and chopping into things. Maybe I'll swing it once or twice for a photo or a video, but that's about it. So, I guess what we have to do next is glue on those pieces of cardstock. Yeah, I think what we're going to do is just put the fake pins on. You can put real ones on if you want. I'll probably put a link in the description on how to shape the handle of a knife or something similar to what I'm doing right here. I also left it slightly uneven on purpose because from what I can tell, it's actually like that on the real prop. So, yeah, I also want it to be kind of bumpy and lumpy as well. So, yeah, let's throw on those tang pins. Well, the fake ones. Oh wait, I actually changed my mind. I have a better way of doing this. I just thought of it. I could drill 3 holes into this, not all the way through, and actually stick in some leftover rivet heads. I have some in my toolbox. Here they are. These are rivets, and they're metal, so I don't have to paint them. And they already look a lot like tang pins on a real machete. Here, let me grab one. Okay, so here's a real machete. This is a one that I've had for a little while. I actually got this machete on Friday the 13th, like the actual day. It has, I think these are stainless rivet pins. From what I can tell, you know, the Tramontina ones with wooden handles, they have similar-ish pins to this. I'll put a picture of one right here. And, yeah, that's kind of the look that I'm going for right here, just with a darker handle, because the one in the movie has a darker handle. And these pins look a lot like these rivet heads, so I just think I'm gonna glue on these rivet heads into some small holes that I've already drilled. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, so I just drilled the holes. It now has pins in it. Nah, I'm just kidding. I just set them in. They're not glued in yet. But that's kind of the rough idea of what I'm going for. I'm just gonna take these rivet heads. These are pop rivet heads. And sticking them in those holes. And I'm gonna do this on both sides. I already drilled the holes on both sides. They don't go all the way down to the tang. You don't want them to go down to the metal. You only want them long enough just so that that part can actually go into the scales. That's what these pieces of wood are called. Okay, but seriously, no, I actually did glue them in. You don't want them perfect. They don't need to be perfect. If they're off-center, hey, that's okay. Most of this is going to be covered with stain and like bits of leather and cord and basically anything that mongoloid could have found in the woods. And then I'm going to stain the handle, and I'm going to teach you guys how to weather the blade. We're not going to sharpen it. We're not. We're going to mask off this part right here, this little line right here. From here on, that's going to be masked off, because there are a couple scenes in the movie where you do see him sharpening the weapon. And to give it the illusion that it actually has an edge, we're going to leave this area unpainted. We're going to paint on rust, we're going to weather the blade. Oh yeah, I also scraped off some of the epoxy that had gathered in there. So yeah, we're going to weather the blade and stain the handle tomorrow. And then I'll show you guys how to wrap it, and then we're going to be done. This is a fairly easy build. Let's stain this little guy now. I'm going to use that right there. You can use whatever stain you want, or whatever you have on hand. This is just what I have on hand, so feel free to use whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Most of it's going to be covered anyways. I got the wood stain. That's what I'm using. I masked off like the first 4 or 5 inches of this blade. And here's a little trick with wood stain. All of the good stuff, it settles to the bottom. So what you want to do is you want to get a stick or a popsicle stick or something, some sort of long pokey thingy, and scrape all the stuff off the bottom. And it really darkens this stuff up. You can use a brush for this. Just make sure that you have some sort of acetone or something like that on standby. I'm personally going to use a sock with a hole in it, because I don't care if I see this again. I mean, if I don't see this again. Dip it in the stain. Now watch this. Looks like some cheap oak, huh? You might want to do 1 or 2 coats, but I think I like that. Now I just want to take off the tape. That's a satisfying sound. Well, that seems to have done it. Now, you want to let this set for a little while, maybe an hour or 2. You might even want to seal it. I'm personally not going to, but that's just my judgment. We're going to go over the next plan of attack while I drink my Pepsi. It's a little flat. I got some newspaper here. This was actually left over from epoxying the handle onto this. So you just want to crinkle the paper around the handle like that. You get your masking tape. I do this for all of my props, by the way, if they have a handle like this. But then, even if they're real or fake, masking tape, we're going to pretty get that area looking. You're going to want to push down the paper in this area and get this tape on it, so that you cover up the edge of the handle, but not the blade. You're going to want to miss this, so you want to shake it. We're going to go black first, because once you go black, there's no going back. Just missed the blade. I'm going to have to move you guys back so that I don't get paint on you. You want to hit it a couple times more. that area right there by the handle. I'm debating whether or not I should do both. I don't know, just do both sides. Get some brown. Oh, there's our brown. Also want to hit it a couple times more in that area right there, because that's where the rust would gather on a real machete. So that's it. Now you're just going to want to wait for that to dry. Now you got a kind of ugly machete. What you're going to want to do is take some sandpaper. It's a slightly finer grit. Now I'm just going to barely start scratching that. Be sure to get the edges too so that they really pop. Okay, now that I've done that to the whole blade, I'm going to hit it with the brown just one more time. I just barely want to hit it this time. You can experiment with multiple colors, browns, oranges, greens if you want, reds, or kind of a dried blood effect. I might do that on mine. Get a little blotch like this area right here. You can kind of dab it with a paper towel or sock. This is the same one that I used for staining the handle. And yeah, it's kind of a neat effect. There we go. So now we can, for the most part, the paint is already mostly dry. So we can actually take off the wrap on the handle that we did. So I'll just do like a time lapse of this, I guess. There we go. And since spray paints dissolve other spray paints, we're just going to lather this thing up. I'm going to take it and grab it by the blade. Slowly but surely, starts taking off the paint on the blade. See that? You're just going to want to do that for the whole thing. Okay, so I finished the blade. Now all we have to do is clear coat it. Now I'm going to use this kind of clear coat. You can use other kinds. You can use a matte finish. This one's semi-gloss. You can use full gloss. You can use whatever. It's your machete. Okay, we're finally in the home stretch. I have the blade fully sealed. I used a matte sealer. Sorry, I said it was, I think, semi-gloss or something like that. It's not. It was matte. I was wrong, and I apologize to you guys. So, now what we have to do is add some details to this handle right here. One side is darker than the other, but I don't personally care. I have some leather right here, some just old leather cord that I have lying around, and I have some green paracord that I also have lying around. And guess what I'm gonna do next? All I had to do was wrap these around in a half-assed way, so it looks kind of rustic, I guess. I left some bits hanging right here. I'm just going to super glue down a couple bits just so that they don't slide around too much. You want them to slide around just a little, but not to the point where this is all going to slide off the handle that way. But yeah, it's done. So I guess cue the demo of it.